St. Lucia, this is Open Mic, and we're now back to the fourth and final segment of our program. When we left off, we were talking about the pros and cons of getting people to work in St. Lucia. Now, Mr. Celestin mentioned to me that there are 300 farmers in total on the island. And in the heyday, there were 11,000. Listen to that, St. Lucia. 300 versus 11,000. And we want to know why we have an unemployment situation. People talk of agriculture and they pay a blind eye to it. My advice to any government presently in power, or whichever government that comes into power, needs to revisit very carefully our agricultural situation. And I have a couple tips for any administration. We are all aware that Martinique and Guadeloupe now have some sort of association with the OECS. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying we can get everything from them, but there's nothing like a start. Martinique ships thousands of boxes a week to France. Thousands. Can't we work out some sort of a deal where the French authorities can come over to St. Lucia, visit our plantations, and work out something with Mr. Cornybut and his Windfresh to assist these guys? We are trampling all over the world. We're in the air talking about unemployment. We're giving all kinds of excuses that things are difficult in America. Tourism alone cannot keep this country going. More importantly, since we are stuck at 3,500 rooms in St. Lucia, for St. Lucia to be a real player in the tourism industry, you want at least 9,000 rooms. So we have to have at least 3 times the number of rooms in St. Lucia for us to be taken seriously. And remember, St. Lucia, you have 3,000 children leaving school every year. What are you going to do with them? As Mr. Celestin explained, the boys from the valleys are sitting down doing nothing. They're going to Martinique, getting themselves into trouble. We have gangs on our hands, and yet nobody's looking after those people. The very STEP program people I said before, okay, should be sent to the farmers so they can train them, and at least they will see it's better to be doing something than nothing at all. So what I'm saying to them, when Sir John Compton was in power and he extended an olive branch to the farmers, what did he do? He gave them incentives for their inputs. Everything is going up today because the value of money has dropped considerably. And unless we can assist those farmers with some inputs and make them competitive, we will continue to wallow in our difficulties. Our competitor is Ecuador, where a laborer down there gets $2 to $3 US a day. They have a lot of flat land they can mechanize. But that doesn't mean that we have to stay out of the business, because similarly in tourism, Mexico is a huge playground for tourists. But we in St. Lucia and the Eastern Caribbean, we have found our niche, and we're able to keep our hotels going. But why are we able to keep our hotels going? Because it's private practice. It's privately owned by different people, and the private sector is continuously working tirelessly to keep their hotels in good condition and also to attract the foreigners coming on. Every year, we have to be doing new things. We have to be internet savvy. We have to talk to the operators, listen to what they're saying, work with them. It's the same situation with the banana, with the agricultural industry. People must eat. They must eat. And since they have to eat, why can't we help the farmers to produce for the people that want to eat? I know for a fact in the UK that the Caribbean bananas are bought in preference to the South American bananas because they have a different taste. I've been told so by many people in Europe. Why don't we capitalize on that? Why are we leaving the farmers to wallow? With the Martinique next door, okay? We have all kind of meetings with the French, saying how great it is, but what have we done to show that we can bring the two countries together and benefit from the agro-industry? We have bananas falling on, and our labor is cheaper here than in Martinique. So there are many industries that we can work together with the French and make it happen. Are we asleep on the wheel? What is going on, St. Lucia? Mr. Celestin, you've heard what I had to say.
Yes, sir.
What have you?
Yeah, what I want to say is that, and I want to send that directly to the Minister of Agriculture and the government of St. Lucia, is that if you have Windfresh who say, well, they have a standard that the farmers cannot keep. But what you realize is that there is what you call the global gap standard. The farmers will pass that standard. There is what you call the fair trade standard. The farmers will pass that standard. But Windfresh have a standard that the farmers cannot pass. That is something for major concern.
What is that standard?
The field practices that you have to do, it is basically the same standards.
Okay.
It's field practices. But because they want to eliminate farmers, they
make it very difficult.
Very difficult. It's just like somebody walk into your house and they see a few cups dirty and they might say, okay, you're not washing your dishes, so I can't deal with you.
Got you.
Or you walk inside the hotel in the kitchen and then a few pans dirty. So you said, okay, because I want to get you out. I want to get you out of business. So I'll tell you, okay, this is the standard that your pans have to be clean. You have some pans dirty, so you're out. You can sell.
But tell me something, Mr. Celestin. What you're telling me there is unbelievable. For all the years you've been in farming, have you ever seen any agricultural minister come down and discuss those things with you?
No. No. And that is...
What about the field officers? Don't they have field officers?
They do have field officers.
And what do they do?
The field officers are under their control, and whatever they say, that's what the field officer will say or do. But they do not have government field officers to say, or another set of field officers that will be able to weigh what the Windfresh field officers will say. Because the field officers that are there, they belong to Windfresh. You understand? So what I'm asking the government to do is to pay attention to that. If there's a company with a standard and every farmer is going out of production because of that standard needs to look into. Why? Because the policy should not be to get farmers out. It should be to encourage farmers in.
But definitely.
But what they have there is expelling the farmers. That is what it is, to expel the farmers from farming. And I think that is very much unfair. It's just unreasonable. It's just unbelievable that somebody can put a policy in place to eliminate farmers, whereas they can go. And one thing they have to remember, that Windfresh was really organized by the government and the farmers of St. Lucia. These are the people who organized Windfresh, and it was the purpose of it was to market Windward Island bananas, not to market
the South American
bananas. Yeah. That was never the purpose of Windfresh. It was to market Windward Island bananas, and today it has lost its focus. It has lost its purpose. And they forget about the farmers who really organized it, who really brought it into being. Because when Windfresh was being organized, at the time it was WIPDECU. they were being organized. Farmers had to, or they had to deduct certain monies from the farmers.
I remember that.
You're right. From the farmers, so that they can buy the shares of geese.
Yes.
They would buy it from geese. So they deducted money from the farmers. And they were saying that when Windfresh will be able to stand on its own, they would give the farmers their reward. But then what we get? A kick in the butt.
Wow.
That is what we get for our reward.
You know, I'll tell you something, Mr. Celestin. One of the reasons why we in the Caribbean received a quota, when St. Lucia became independent, well, not only St. Lucia, the islands, the British thought it fitting to give us something in return rather than give you cash. They gave you a quota. And for years, we benefited from that quota. But in all fairness, the Americans, because the American producers like Chiquita and Dole, who are much bigger than you all, they had like 95 or 98% of the entire market already. And they were jealous of the little 2.5% that you all had. And they, you know this whole story, they took us to court several times. And I'm not blaming any administration for that. But where I blame the various administrations is that they should have known what was going on. They should have found themselves in Washington. And for years it has been said by some politicians, what we need is a lobbyist in the UK to lobby for us. I'm going to tell you a little story. Some years ago, when President Clinton came to St. Lucia, I had the pleasure of meeting him on a one-to-one basis. And I told him it was under his regime when we lost the case. But what really happened, you know, the case was in three parts. The first case was heard, and the Caribbean won the case. The second case, the Caribbean won. And the third one, I think it went to The Hague, where there was the final court of appeal. And that's where we lost. Because what they tried to say, that giving us 2.5% preference was wrong. It was against WTO regulations. Now, okay, I can't fight them on that. But, you know, when something like that happens, you go and appeal to the higher officers, because government should know what the consequences would be, okay? Because when you're talking of 11,000 farmers, maybe they never even saw how serious it would get. But when I had Pat Joseph here with me, he indicated that Dr. Anthony was really not in favor of the banana industry. Personally, Mr. Celestin, I find that hard to believe, because Dr. Anthony is an intelligent man. He's from St. Lucia. I don't know why he would want to hurt the banana farmers. But what Pat Joseph said was that Dr. Anthony felt that it was the banana farmers who put him in power, and if they remained as powerful, they will take him out of power. Now, you know, that's what was said.
Yeah.
But as a business person, and one who tries to be fair in everything, I cannot see that happening. But you know, from what you're telling me today, it's a situation that seems to be existing. That nobody's helping you.
Nobody's hearing.
Yeah. So what I am limited, A, because of my age today, how much more I can do for you as a farmer, but I will try my very best to go back to Trinidad, meet with Nian Massey, who are one of the biggest companies in Trinidad. They have, between Barbados, St. Lucia, and Trinidad, they probably have 70 or 75 supermarkets, and they have connections abroad, and to see what they can do to help the farmers. Because it is too hurtful for two reasons. One, to see people like you going down the drain, and to see all those kids on the block, sitting down doing nothing. That has to be very, very humiliating.
It is.
And my heart really goes out to you. But before we wind up, is there anything else you'd like to say so that we can get that word out to St. Lucia of the situation in our hands today.
Well, I want to tell the farmers out there to that they need to don't give up. Continue planting your bananas. In spite of the fact that Windfresh does not want to buy your bananas, you need to send your children to school. We need to support our families. And I hate to see our young men on the block and having nothing to do. And I believe that there is a better day that will come than what has come. And I want to encourage everybody to plant your bananas. Something will come up for you. There will be a good coming up for you. Just don't give up hope.
Well, Mr. Celestin, I want to thank you greatly for being here today, because this whole thing started from one meeting which I had in Barbados with an individual who I respect a lot, but he's the one that brought to my attention what was going on, and I've been talking on it about it for the last 2 or 3 shows. So in my little way, I will try my best and see what I can do, and I'm going to arrange to come down to the valley one day with you, and before I'll call you so we can meet with about 40, 50 farmers and we can talk and hear and learn more, because hearing something from you alone may not be good enough, but hearing it from 50 people will help us. Mr. Celestin, it's a pleasure having you on the show, and thank you very much.